Welcome to Mental Health Matters with me, Dr. Audrey Tang. My co-host is Judith Crosier, and this is the show where we take a deep dive into all things mental health and well-being, helping you live your best life. It's a very exciting show for us today. We have the author of the book, Behind the Smile, and Ryan is going to talk to us about overcoming depression and why he's written this book and how he aims to help other people who may be going through something similar. Let's go and meet him. Ryan, welcome to Mental Health Matters. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Now, this book really explains your experiences, what you went through, but also how you overcame. And there's a lot of helpful little tips and tools for people who perhaps need that informal help first. But can you share your personal story before we get into the book?
Yes, certainly. Most of my life I've always been a very happy-go-lucky person, but there's always sort of stages and chapters in people's lives where different events affect our well-being. And mine was sort of like about 15 years ago, start of my 40s, and I had a long-term relationship which had a very bad ending and had a really bad negative effect on my well-being sort of thing. And that is what triggered all my depressive stages, and I was literally in denial and not knowing what to do, because in those times you had a GP or your family sort of thing, and there wasn't the support like there is today on the social network and the wonderful support groups that are about. So unfortunately it was the wrong attitude. It's sort of like, it's not that bad, you know, just plough on with it sort of thing. It gets better, and you don't know who to turn to. And as I say, you have your GPs, but there's a fear that you might just be prescribed medication, and you don't always need that. For some, medication is ideal depending on how severe their depression is, but for other people the slowing down it doesn't help sort of thing. And you can't always, and I've written it in the book, you can't always turn to your loved ones and your family for support, and that's where I went wrong. I didn't turn to them because like people experiencing these feelings, you feel ashamed and you feel afraid that you don't want to burden them with your problems, and you want everyone to see you that you are coping. And during that real hard time, I put on, that's why I've called it Behind the Smile, I put my brave face on. I smiled to let everybody feel that life was good, even though the circumstances around my life were falling apart, which people could see. I didn't show that it was affecting me. But when I closed the door, my life was empty. It was absolute torture sort of thing. It was just, I didn't feel how the next day would improve and the next day would improve, and it just seemed to get worse and worse sort of thing. Every situation that I thought I could control just deteriorated, and there was no way of sort of like winning. And it's when I literally hit rock bottom.
Gosh, that's heartbreaking. I mean,
it's really sad.
Do you mind? And tell me to say no if you don't want to. But do you mind sharing sort of what a typical day might have looked like when things were really bad for you, please?
Well, when I would get up, because you'd wake up and I would try and just focus on going to work. At that time, I was like self-employed butcher. And so you had a business to run, and so anybody that's self-employed always knows it's 24/7. Even when you're sleeping, you're thinking of doing that work for the next day, getting the bills paid, what money's owed to you, you know, completing everything. So your mind is taken on that, and that, unfortunately, people say, oh, that's good, work keeps you busy. But unfortunately, it doesn't. It kind of makes it worse, because it hides what you are suffering sort of thing. And it makes it worse because when somebody goes into your shop, you've always got to put that smile on. Good morning, how are you? Lovely day. You know, because you like your job and you've got to be cheerful, or you wouldn't have any customers sort of thing. But behind it is very hard. And when they've gone, instead of having that motivation of working hard, it's sort of like, oh, really? And you know, the negative feeling, you just feel you don't want to do anything. You'd rather just sort of like close the door, you know, sit in the corner and cry sort of thing. But you can't be seen doing that, because you don't want people to sort of say, oh, are you all right? No, I'm fine. Even though you're not, you've got to then, you find you're convincing yourself that you're doing well. you know, and then when no one's about, you can shut the door and you can just, people handle it differently. Some people get very angry, you know, some people wouldn't even let you approach the subject to them, sort of thing, rather than sort of saying, are you all right? Oh yeah, I'm fine. They get sort of a bit of abusive, whereas I was different. I just sort of like melted down and just wanted to be left alone, which wasn't me. And then it's literally hard to find a way out of it. You think, well, tomorrow will be better, sort of thing. And then you think, oh, I've got the next day off, and you think your day off is better, but then you literally have nothing to do. And if you're not meeting family or friends, it's a never-ending day, and that's even harder to get around.
It's absolute. That's just so painful as you're talking about, because you can feel that real struggle between, almost there's an expectation you place on yourself, almost like gaslighting yourself. You're fine. You must be fine because you just smiled, and then the actual you in there kind of going, no, I'm really not, and that's very difficult to manage for any length of time. When it came to those negative feelings, the first times you were experiencing them, did they just come on very suddenly? Was it a gradual thing? Did it get worse? What was your pattern of feeling?
Looking back now, I can see it was sort of like, I can see that it was there, but at the time being, with the situations I was going through, you were sort of, like the worst word in the world, you was in denial. And I thought, oh, it's not that bad, it's not that bad. And as I've written in the book, if anybody feels like, for like 2 weeks or more, you feel like tearful, empty, sad, angry, tired, you need to seek your medical profession. You need to go to a GP, because, again, people think, oh, it'll get better next week, it'll get better tomorrow, it's a bad patch. But occasionally it is a bad patch, but in reality, you know, when you wake up, that you don't want to wake up, you want to stay in the bed and hide from the world, you know, that is not a bad patch. And unfortunately, you need help. And it's just, your body's sort of like telling you, ask for help. And I have said, it is a strong person that asks for help. That's the hardest stage to go through, to ask somebody for help. You know, you think, well, I'll do it tomorrow. We all know somebody we've tried to help, and they, no, I'm all right. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it, and then that's another day, and the depression deepens, sort of thing. But as I say, I was in denial, and looking at it, I could see now it was like suffering. It had gone on much longer than it should have done, and I was just like pushing it off, thinking, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, and it's no, I'm okay. And it was wrong, really. It was. I should have reached out, but as I say, in those days, sort of like, there wasn't the support. Today, there is support in the workplace, on the radio, everything, social media, famous celebrities coming out. But unfortunately, even with my book that I've written to try to support everybody and be non-judgmental, I still have people go, yeah, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that book. It'll help me. And I go, oh, have you got it yet? Well, no, but I will. And they're still like, but I don't need help. And they do need help, whatever way they take it. And it's just getting that admittance. Oh, find help wherever you can.
Yeah. It's just actually making the decision to go and find the help and move on from there, I suppose.
It totally is, because you don't know which way to approach the subject, and you don't want to approach it. And that is, unfortunately, that is the word stigma, sort of thing, that on it, when you sort of like got depression, and I have put in there the word like, you know, like when they say, oh, you've got mental health problems, to a lot of people, that covers a wide range. But to some people, they think they're like crazy. Oh, no, I can't say I've got that. And I've put in there like a brain condition, which it is. But whatever way you look at it, you need support. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. But it's just getting them to, A, realise they've got a slight sort of like problem, and then second, find some support.
So what was the moment where you decided, this is the moment I need to find help? What was that for you?
The final sort of like moment would have been like on one of my days off, and I didn't have my family around me, and I'd gone up to the cemetery to talk to my father, as you do, because you all go to the cemetery. But I have now realised, like I put in the book, normally people go and they tell them the bad things. Oh, this is bad. You know, this is bad. This is happening. But really, it is a stage of opening up. And then you should go and say, oh, I got a promotion today. I'm going on holiday. And you should tell them the good news. Because without being morbid, they're past. but it is a way that you're opening up. And now I realise, you see, and that was my initial start, that if they were alive, they could help me, you see. And I thought, well, I'm lucky, I'm still alive. No matter how bad my life is now, I can turn it around, I can get on, because they would help me. And I'm thinking, I'm talking sort of like the place my father was at rest, but I'm thinking, I've got the rest of my living family here that I should be talking to, knowing that they will accept and understand and support me. Whereas before, I've pushed them away, thinking, oh, I'm a failure, you know, I'm weak, and I don't want to stress my family and make them feel that, oh my God, we've got to look after him, sort of thing. And then by talking, sort of think, you know, that's one stage, and that's what I encourage in the book. Talk to an animal. Everybody can be honest. They've had a bad relationship, they've had a bad day at work, you know, you've fallen out with a family member, a neighbour, and you don't always express on the phone, and but you've got a cat or a dog, and you stroke it, and you go home and you kiss that cat and that dog, and they do not judge you. You think, oh, that feels better. And it is a start, because you finally told somebody, you've got it out of your body. You think, well, actually, I do need to talk. And that's what it was like. I went to the cemetery, and that was the first way I could start. I thought, well, I've admitted sort of like to a past relation. Now I need to find support and tell my family. And they were amazing, like they were. I have the best family, and they were absolutely brilliant. And I should have done it earlier. And that is one of the reasons why I've written the book, because people, you never tell your loved ones first.
No, it's true.
You know, even if it is something they can help you with, or it is about them, we hide it from them, and your relationship, you know, weakens a little bit. And they will always, 99% of the time, they will always support you. But again, it's the fear of being a failure or not wanting to hurt them, sort of thing. But
so you were saying just then that you hid it from your family for a while. You said before that you would put a smile on your face and you would kind of hide it that way. Were there other coping mechanisms, or, you know, ways that you masked your depression from your family and friends? Would you avoid seeing them, for example?
Well, yes, unfortunately, you know, being in working, you see a lot of people, but out of working hours, I would use and think, oh no, I'm busy, I've just got this to do, I've got that to do. And they go, oh, do you want to come here? I go, I'm so far behind on like work, sort of thing. I say, I'm really tired, and you would make excuses. And at that time, it was slightly easier to make excuses, because there wasn't the obsession with sort of like the mobile phone, where you can't escape. Everybody's sort of texting or messaging, and and they know if you looked at the message. Whereas those days, you could get away with it, sort of thing. And that's how I did avoid it, you know. And it's and again, you're sort of like, your health does sort of like suffer, because you're not eating as well. You know, even being a butcher, and I had the best food, you don't eat as well, and then of course you don't sleep as well. You know, and that has a knock-on effect, sort of thing, on your body and your mind.
So when it comes for reaching out for help, you've talked about some of the barriers because of the stigma. What other barriers did you face personally, or do you see other people might be facing?
It's sadly, nowadays, there are, as I say, there's so much support, but it's still very difficult to try and encourage people that, you know, their health is priority. You know, and we have to look after ourselves first before we can help anybody else. And that is so very important, but so difficult, you know. And as I say, I have people that I sort of know are suffering, and I sort of say, oh, do you know, good film on, and you have to try and sort of like bring them out of sort of like their shell, and sort of say, oh, there's a good film on, or there's something on at Bedford Park, etc. And then bring them around. So how are you doing? Have you got plans for the weekend? Rather than go in and sort of say, how are you feeling, you know, a bit low today, and, you know, you've got to sort of like judge the person, but you've got to sort of say, you know, go out for a walk. And that is the greatest thing at that time that helped me. Once I was out, nature is the best healer, sort of thing. You go out, you admire the clouds, I put in there, go and feed the birds, just sit and relax and be at nature, observe the feet, the feathers, and just totally, you know, take maybe one picture of them to remember the good day that you're having. So when you do hit that sad day again, you think, oh, that was lovely, I had a lovely day. But then leave the phone off, hide them, and just appreciate your time, sort of thing. But nature was my healing way, sort of thing. The fresh air, and then of course the walking, and the exercise. That is all perfect for you.
You've got these in the book as well. You've
Yes.
got things like art therapy and different suggestions that people can try, which is fabulous, because a lot of the time people get very caught up with, I must have CBT.
Went to the doctors and he said, oh, we could give you this, we could give you this. And I thought, I don't want to be on medication. I'm working. I haven't got time to slow it down. I want to get better. You know, and maybe some of a little course might have helped and I might have seen things a little bit clearer. But at the time, I was thinking, no, I don't need medication, because then, to me, it was sort of, I'm giving in. There is something really wrong, which there was, and that's why the professional was offering a little bit of help. And I thought, no, but I was very fortunate, and I found it sort of like, realistically, you looked at the family photos, set yourself goals, and then, like nature, I thought, I can do that.
Yeah.
And as I say, this is why I have written the book, because there are so many more ways people can improve their well-being today.
Precisely.
And I know that if I managed to get through that awful situation when there wasn't a lot on, nowadays people have a much, much better chance of improving their well-being.
Well, Ryan is staying with us with more tips and tools. But before that, we have got Dr. Helen McCarthy, who is going to talk to us about managing our appetites, because that is one of the ways that we do, unfortunately, turn to comfort when we're feeling down.
Many of us fear the sensations of hunger, associating them with deprivation or restriction. But actually, mild hunger is just a reminder of a basic bodily function, rather like needing to pee. I want to show you how embracing mild hunger offers a gateway to eating more in tune with your body and being more flexibly in control around food. If you avoid getting hungry, like I did for years, you'll love the insights into your own eating that understanding hunger gives you. In this video, I'm going to show you why we feel hungry and what hunger is, and remind you of its evolutionary purpose. I'll explain how hunger signals work, and particularly I'll show you how hunger signals are switched on and off. That's a really useful thing to use when you want to eat more in tune with your appetite and lose weight. And I'll show you how you can use this knowledge for your own health and well-being using the appetite pendulum and putting it into practice. And I'll explain exactly how to do that. And then finally, I'll have a word at the end about intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating and how that relates to hunger. So let's start with what hunger actually is. It's a biological process that swings into action once we've finished digesting our last meal. Its evolutionary purpose is to orient us away from other things towards seeking out food. Whilst extreme hunger is of course a threat to life, mild hunger is absolutely no danger. On the contrary, it has real benefits. It supports weight loss. It gives your body a rest from digestion between meals so that your body can switch to other functions like cell repair and gut cleaning. It allows your taste perception to develop so that your next food tastes better. And it can help you to develop a greater sense of being in control around food and eating. Let's look at how hunger signals work. First of all, they're not a simple on and off switch. Hunger increases over time since your last meal, and it's a gradual thing. But it doesn't just keep rising. Something that's really helpful to know is the signal that we experience as hunger is the body's way of telling the brain that we've used up the food from the last meal and we're having to switch to using stored energy, which, putting it simply, means starting to burn a bit of fat. If you're trying to lose weight, that's exactly what you want to be happening. So bingo, tolerating mild hunger means that you are actually allowing your body to burn a bit of stored fat. So what this means in practice is that we experience hunger, and then if we tolerate the mild hunger, quite quickly those signals are turned off for that very reason, that our body has now got some energy to use, so it doesn't need to be getting us to eat. So this simple bit of understanding that the signals are temporary, they come in phases. So it's phasic, it's not that hunger rises inexorably and you're having to, it's not like a white knuckle ride, it's about tolerating gentle levels of hunger. And I'll explain how you do that now using the appetite pendulum. So if you look at the appetite pendulum, hunger signals are the negative numbers on the pendulum from -1 to -5. My suggestion with the appetite pendulum is that you space your meals so that you arrive at each meal definitely hungry, and that you tolerate the mild hunger that builds before the point of being definitely hungry, so that you're not getting overly hungry, you're not getting to -4 or -5, but you are getting to the point of definite hunger with all those benefits that I mentioned earlier. So in practice, whenever you think of eating, just pause and tune in to where you are on the appetite pendulum right now. If you're -3, then it's time to eat. Either you're about to arrive at a mealtime, or if you've got to -3 and it's between meal times, then you need a snack to tide you over. And trial and error will mean that you can learn what snack and what amount is going to keep you going for the amount of time until your next meal. If you aren't yet at -3, but you're thinking of eating, then notice that you're not yet at -3 and distract yourself onto anything. It doesn't matter what you do, however trivial, anything other than eating. And as you notice that you're feeling mildly hungry, -1 or -2, and you're not going to be eating right now, distract yourself and maybe bring to mind the what might be quite helpful thought, which is that actually now you are burning a little bit of fat. So this is supporting weight loss if that's what you're aiming to achieve. So just remind yourself that the hunger will pass and absorb yourself in an activity, and then you can just get on with your day. Also, I'd encourage you to avoid getting overly hungry. If you're -4 or -5, you're going to be under increasing pressure to eat. The signals are going to get stronger and more intense, and you're going to find it harder to ignore them. A bit like needing to pee. If you wait and wait and the signals get stronger, eventually you can't think of anything other than finding a toilet. So it's a bit like that with hunger. As the hunger intensifies, if you don't eat when you're definitely hungry and you're trying to restrain eating, it's not really helpful for most of us. It often backfires, because the more hungry we get, the more our brains are under pressure to get us to find food. After all, that's the whole purpose of these signals. Learning to respond to mild hunger differently or develop any other eating skills can be challenging if you're doing it on your own. So if you want my professional help with this, feel free to click on the link in the description. Just a word about intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating. If you're using intermittent fasting, where you've got an extended period of time when you're not eating, and then a particular window during the day when you are eating, you may find that this suits you really well. Some people find that time-restricted eating like this with an extended overnight fast is surprisingly easy for them. They don't miss eating early in the morning, and they find it easy to push back the first meal of the day until much later than usual. Of course, that's partly to do with being asleep during those periods of mild hunger. You might have been dreaming about food, but it's no big deal. So if that's true for you, then intermittent fasting, time-restricted eating, the maybe 16-8 window might really work for you. On the other hand, some people really struggle with time-restricted eating and find the experience is largely one of deprivation. If this applies to you, if it feels like you're just battling quite intense levels of hunger, time-restricted eating is perhaps not for you. In that case, you might find that using the appetite pendulum and tolerating mild hunger but not allowing yourself to get overly hungry might really suit you. One caveat to talking about hunger is that if you feel hungry all the time, whether you've eaten or not, then I would suggest you talk to your doctor or another health professional, because you might need to have some other approaches to help you regulate your appetite signals. So thank you for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like, subscribe and share it with anyone else who might benefit. In my next video, I describe the 5 types of non-hungry eating that I discovered as I was developing appetite retraining. And in doing that, I help you to drill down into which types of non-hungry eating are relevant to you and how to overcome them.
Hello, join me, Stacey Bullock, host of Tools for Everyday Living on E360's Positive Vibrations channel every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on E360 TV.
Welcome back. So we've been having a look at your book and it looks wonderful. What made you decide to actually sit down and write a book?
Well, the truth was, I changed careers, sort of, and I was looking back over my life, sort of like one day, and I realised that I was in a much better place. I'm very sort of like positive and confident, and I thought, you know, I'm going to write this book to sort of like remind me of the times that I suffered. And as I started to sort of like write it, I thought this is going to help people, and I just carried on, and I become sort of like obsessed with it and trying to offer as much support to people as I could. And I put in there sort of like different ways to help people, you know, and I always felt, and I still do, I'm so proud of it, that it's like non-judgmental, but it's very supportive and a guidance to people. So I've covered different topics as to how people will have suffered through depression, through different events that they would have experienced, and my aim was to give them support and let them realise that, you know, there is a way out. There are lots of support, different methods that they can take, sort of like from professional therapy to sort of like going from their GP to their daily exercise and nature. But I listed all the groups that should cover most of all the topics that people are affected from. You see, and I feel that it's given them such a range that once they realise they have some problem, take whatever step you require. Sort of talk to your family, if not, talk to the pet, you know, go out in the wild sort of thing, and appreciate what's around us, because we live in such a beautiful world. You don't realise you pass the same road and street every day, but all of a sudden you might see a bird's nest or something. You think, I took that for granted, that's art, you know, and just look at things differently, and then get the professional support, and of course at the back, like the contact numbers, because they're all amazing organisations which are there to be non-judgmental, and once the person that is finding it hard to deal with their depression, once they can actually speak to somebody and realise that they're not going to be judged, they're not going to be insulted or criticised, they're going to be encouraged and supported, it's a great step for them, and their well-being will improve. It's not going to be changed overnight, but step by step, everybody will end up in a far happier place that they deserve to be. And it's just getting started for them.
Just taking the first step, like you said, step by step.
Exactly.
Yes. So it's a really good, I suppose it's, you know, your experience, but also, you know, providing help for others, and people that have read it and maybe contacted you after reading it. What's their response been to your book, or what has the general response been?
I think most of them are very impressed and think, oh wow, I never knew you sort of like went through that, and they're all shocked, like from saying, but you're always smiling, you can never ever, and that again is why I put behind the smile, because you hide everything. You have to pretend to be happy all the time, because I did find that if you're not smiling, see, if you say you have depression, you know, people look at it and think, you know, and they give you that already negative thought, oh, he's not going to want to help, or she's not going to want to help themselves, there's something wrong with it. If they say you're stressed, they're like, well, just slow down, take life differently, you know, and it's like, no, I don't want to be either of them, I just want to be happy. And as I say, that's literally why I put behind the smile, because people think you always are happy, and then at the end, it is the thing, once you've come through it like I have, you are happy on the inside, and you will come across situations which will affect our well-being, that will harm our well-being. But I now know the ways that I can deal with it, and feel absolutely brilliant. And that was the reason for writing it, because I want everybody to feel, when you get up in the morning, it's brilliant, you're going there, it's brilliant, you're going to... And it should be, and it can be, that life is wonderful every day sort of thing. Because, unfortunately, the issues that have affected you, they're always there. They have affected you. But, you know, like when I sign my books, I put, life is a gift and not a dress rehearsal. And it is exactly that.
True.
You have one life, you've got to live it the best you can, and it is down to you, and you deserve a good life.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really nice about this book is you cover the many different things that can actually affect people. So you've got things like sexuality, body image, guilt, finances, all of those other things which you may not think are causing you the actual strain and pushing you, affecting your mood in that way. So with that, with all of those things that you cover, what are the conversations that you've been having with people who have kind of maybe said, oh, I know I'm worried a little bit about my money, but I'm not depressed, I'm okay, I'm fine, you know, kind of thing. What are those conversations like?
A lot of them, unfortunately, are about bullying, and it is more so psychological than physical sort of thing. And it happens in... a lot of females can be bullies, the same as males can be, and they can receive it, but the psychological tends to affect people worse, because you think, oh, you know, I love that person, why are they doing it to me? And unfortunately, the person that's doing the bullying has also been bullied before. So, you know, and I've mentioned in there, if that is you, sort of like find help and support. And, you know, some do it for a power trip, and bullying is still a main thing, and it's not just in education, it's in the workplace, it's in the family life sort of thing. And it is very frightening that when you go home, you know, you think, oh golly, what are they going to be like? What's going to happen, sort of thing? And 3 days can be good, and the next changes. And unfortunately, that is very hard to find the strength, sort of thing. And you can't just run away. You can have family members. You really need to talk. And I do encourage you, if it happens that one, to call any of them support lines, or see a therapist, or marriage guidance. You know, for someone, for a professional that can give you absolute support and advice, not just your best friend or your neighbour, which is biased. You really do need to find somebody like that.
I mean, on that, there's two things here, really, because you're absolutely right. Formal intervention is the most important, because that person is trained to work with something like depression.
Yes.
If you're talking to your best friend, the difficulty there is depression itself is incredibly clever. If you think of that as an external character almost that's latched itself onto you, it's fighting you, and then it's going to start fighting your friend as well. And it's only trained therapists who really do understand how to work with that, and how to kind of work with you to support that. The other thing about friends is, of course, they don't like to see you hurt. So you get that whole thing about, oh, let's go and do this, and you're great, you're so good, and there is that toxic positivity that doesn't help. But you've got some really nice ideas. You've got about going out for a walk, you've got a bit of art, you've got focus on nature, things that you've discussed as well, listen to music. What would your favourite go-to tips be when it comes to informal intervention? Maybe you're on a waiting list to seek professional support.
I always recommend you keep a journal. That is the best thing of all, because without realising it, if you write your daily journal down, over a month you will see how your lifestyle really, really is. And you think, I'm always happy on a Tuesday. And then you realise you've got, if you're at education, you've got your favourite teacher, you've got your favourite workmate in. You know, you might have a special meal on a Tuesday, and on a Thursday there's a negative reason. You think, oh, that's because I've got this assignment, or I've got that. And then you think, oh, there is a link. So you can maybe be able to shuffle your days around. Think, well, if I don't go in the office that day, I could work from home, you know, and I'd avoid confrontation. And, you know, and if I like Tuesday so good, perhaps I should do that on a Wednesday and a Thursday. And it's because you just get into a mode where every day you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, without realising why Tuesday is so good or Wednesday is so bad. And you need to make adjustments. And sometimes they're just literal, simple adjustments. And again, that all improves your well-being.
I love this.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, we're going to stick with Ryan for just one more bit of tips and tools, but we're going to go over to Sharon Lawton, our coach. She's our resident expert, and she will be talking about the benefits of nature.
Hello again, everyone, and thank you for joining me this week for my Tips to Thrive. Now, this week we're looking at something that's close to my own heart because as an award-winning coach and mentor, I am a passionate advocate for the positive impact of nature on our well-being for both myself and my clients. So let's dive into nature and its influence on our well-being. I want to start with looking at the connection between nature and our mental health. Now, nature has an incredible ability to nourish our souls. My journey as a life coach has really shown me the transformational effects of spending time in nature. But it's not just about fresh air, it's about rejuvenation, it's about clarity, it's about finding balance in our all too hectic lives. Firstly, there is a profound effect on our stress reduction, and there's lots of evidence and research to back this up. Now, nature provides us a sanctuary away from the demands of our busy, fast-paced lives, world, and work. And even a short walk in the park or sitting by a river can significantly lower stress levels, promoting mental well-being. Another key benefit is enhanced creativity and focus. Now, nature has a remarkable way of inspiring our minds. So whether you're an artist, an entrepreneur, a parent, or anyone really seeking fresh ideas and a reset button, spending time outdoors can unlock that creativity and improve concentration. Now, I realise that not everyone has a forest or a river to walk along at their doorsteps, but even small acts like bringing plants indoors or finding a local park or green space can make a significant difference. It's about embracing nature in whatever way is accessible to you. Now, I've got some practical advice for everyone, really. So I'm just sort of thinking about what I would like to leave you with when it comes to prioritising nature and your wellness journey. And I think we really need to think about how we prioritise our well-being. Nature's not a luxury, it's a necessity to our well-being. And in pursuing a fulfilling life, whatever fulfilling means to you, remember to connect with the natural world. There's lots of engaging in online world, virtual worlds, but connect with that natural world. Now, whether that's a quiet moment on our balcony or in the garden or a hike in the mountains or taking time to walk through your local park, prioritize nature in your routine because your mind, your body, and your spirit will thank you for it. So before I go, a couple of questions for you to reflect on. What one thing could you start to do that could incorporate nature into your daily life? And what would the benefit be to you? So I'm going to leave you with those two questions to reflect on. But until next time, stay inspired, and back to you, Audrey. And so until next time, stay inspired, and back to you, Audrey, in the studio.
Welcome back. So obviously you've been through a whole journey, and you're feeling very happy now. You're content. You're happy with everything with your life now.
I am buzzing.
That you're kind of radiating real contentment. It's really lovely, isn't it? So what is it that you do now for your well-being? What do you practice? What do you do? Where do you go?
I always like to sort of like set myself, like everybody should, little realistic goals, you see, and I always plan sort of like the next month, 2 months sort of thing. I like to have I am well organised, and I like to know I'm going to this venue, I'm going to see these people, and it's sort of like, not that I'm ever sort of sad, but it gives me something to aim for. If there's a lull in the day, I think, that's right, Saturday I'm going here, I'm going to do this. The cinema is my obsession. I love the cinema, and that is my escapism. So when I go to the cinema, everything is shut off behind. I must admit, I always found that you close it out and I'm focused on that screen just for the hour and a half, 2 hours, I am in the screen, and that is just wonderful. I go there sort of like probably every fortnight sort of thing, if not more when there's more releases. I also go with my wife, we go to National Trusts, and that is the best thing of all, because you don't realise what wonderful heritage you have on your doorstep, and you look at all the architecture in the homes, the estates, the paintings, the land, and it is just absolutely brilliant. So that's another thing I like. But the other thing I have mentioned in the book, which is the best of all, when I encourage people to treat themselves, like some people like going out and having their nails done, their hair done, clothes, and reward themselves, and they know they've done well. Then they think they've struggled, and you think, you know, I've done really well this week, you know, I should treat myself a little bit, and the next month think life is really improving. Whatever method you found, sort of like with the GP, the support, the medication, but as long as your well-being is improved and you're feeling positive. But mine is, I go every sort of like 6 weeks for a full body massage. That is my 1 hour of pampering sort of thing. And
Love it.
even though I might not be stressed, you know, it takes out any tension, relaxes the muscles. And of course that is like a hands-on therapy, which is the best thing for the body anyway, manipulating the body.
It's true.
And I really believe everybody should sort of like pamper themselves to a massage, whether you want the full body, you just sort of like your neck and shoulders. But I did even mention the masseuse I go to. She's absolutely amazing, but everybody really needs a pamper day. People go out to these spa days, and you all deserve it. Everybody should be treated.
Absolutely. And just before we go on to our last question, just wanted to point out there what I loved about the suggestions that you make is they're not food related, because this is why we have our appetite doctor as one of our resident experts, because one of the most common things to go to, I did that, now I want to have some cake and that's going to be my treat. And that causes more problems if you have physical intolerances, if it means that you then feel uncomfortable, or that's why it's really good to have different suggestions like you have.
And I think mine stemmed from the fact that sort of like when I was suffering, it was the great outdoors that made me feel good. You see, and that's why I sort of like to go out to outside events, because again, nature, the sunlight is the best thing for the body. A healthy mind, healthy body. Although I say I sit in the cinema, that's an escapism.
Yes.
And then I get pampered, you know, like we all deserve. But being outdoors is wonderful, and it's so good for sort of like the good, feel-good body chemicals. So I encourage everybody to sort of like go out as much as they can. Plus, virtually they're all free. It doesn't cost to go anywhere, so there's no excuse to appreciate nature because it's free.
Yeah,
Absolutely true. Thank you. And tell us, where can we buy your book?
My book, Behind the Smile, is only available on Amazon, and it's in paperback form or Kindle.
Thank you.
Today's Business Boost, I wanted to talk about, well, mental health. And mental health is on a continuum, and that's not what a lot of people really realise. So I'd like you to imagine it as, on the one end, you have mental ill health. So that's ill. That's where you really do need to seek support. You need professional intervention. The next stage along from that is injured. Now, as we know with physical injury, we can recover from that. So it's that little bit of well, it's not so bad, with a bit of rest, with a bit of TLC, with a bit of the healthy behaviours that can move. So ill, injured. And then in the middle, actually, this is not necessarily, I'm really healthy and wonderful. No, this is reacting, responding. This is kind of okay. This is, I'm fine. This is, I'm coping right now. Then we move up to healthy, and that is already on the other side of the middle point. And after healthy, we move to thriving. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it in this particular way is because we often think, oh, well, if I deal with those issues down there, I'm going to go back to being absolutely brilliant and healthy and well. No. You go to the middle point, which is reacting, responding. You need to do extra stuff in order to move you into the healthy and into the thriving. And this is a really important quote from Martin Seligman, who studied depression before he went into positive psychology. And this is, he said, I used to think I could take anger and fear and depression away from a person. I could treat that ill person, and then suddenly I'd get a happy person. No, I didn't. I got an empty one. And that is because the skills of thriving are different to the skills of minimizing sadness. So whilst you are working on all of those things that can make you go from ill through to injured, through to reacting, responding, being able to cope again, you can also be doing all the things that make you feel healthy and thrive and flourish. And those are things, as our guest has said in the show, going out for a walk, getting into nature, being mindful, having a healthy, nutritious, balanced diet. All of those things can help you to push to that side of the continuum. But remember, just simply taking away sadness is not always enough. Welcome to the last part of Mental Health Matters. As always, our guests are very enlightening, and then they say these little nuggets where you go, oh my goodness, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, it happens every time, doesn't it?
It does, every single week, and I love it. I think it's brilliant. I mean, today, what are your tips? What have you taken?
Gosh, I suppose my the biggest thing that stood out from what Ryan was saying is that it's easy just to descend into that state where you want to stay under the duvet and you don't want to get up. And most people have to, because you have to get up and carry on with whatever it might be, work or whatever. But it's recognising the point at which you should think, or you think this isn't right. So he said something about after 2 weeks of not wanting to get up and face the day, that's not right. Yeah. If you have a couple of days like it, we all do. Yeah. But if you've had 2 weeks or more, then that's the point at which you should say, actually, I need to try and find help. And then the other key point was that there is loads of help out there. So you don't be afraid to ask.
Do you know what the sad part is about those 2 weeks? And I fully agree with you. I think that's absolutely the right thing to do. You need to reach out, and you may find it easier to reach out to charities if the GPs are overwhelmed at the moment. But sometimes for diagnoses, they actually ask you to have had 6 weeks or more of those experiences. And that's a long time. But I agree with you. 2 weeks of feeling like that constantly, it is important to reach out. But charities are a lot easier to get that immediate support and help from if there's too long a waiting list elsewhere.
Good tip.
For me, it was and I love this, and when he was speaking, I was like, oh my goodness, this is really true. When you talk to your loved ones, tell them the good stuff. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I love that, because we go to those moments when we speak to people who've passed, and it is, oh, help me through this, help me through that, give me the strength. And absolutely, that's important. But actually, there is a moment of, oh, this happened today, and that was really good. It's warm, and that really makes a difference. I love it. Yeah,
it's something I hadn't really considered before. But it's true.
It's funny. Another thing that he said, though, which is again another serious point, and I hate bringing the conversation down, but it's this medication thing. Unfortunately, I don't know what it's like in the States, but in the UK, doctors are very quick to prescribe. Because they've not got time. So I'm not saying it's anyone's fault or anything like that, but it's very quick. Here's a prescription for something to just perk you up a bit, and that's great. You do not have to take medication. No. Medication, the one problem I have with it, and I just wanted to add here, psychologists, we're not allowed to prescribe. There was a big move to push prescription into something that we could do, and I was very against that, because psychiatrists can, but they are medically trained.
Right, okay.
We're not medically trained, and there is a difference when you're talking about messing around with the brain.
Yes.
And the thing about prescription is that, yes, depression can affect the chemistry of your brain, but I'll guarantee you drugs will.
Right, so
depression but
you might make it worse?
Absolutely. Okay. You can make it worse. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing for everybody, but I am saying that for some people, you may be better off trying talking therapies first. You may be better off trying other informal therapies even. But when it comes to taking medication, for some, yes, it is absolutely important. For some, you can't manage without it. You need to get rebalanced. But it's one of those things. It's not for everyone. Not for everyone. So, sorry, on that note. But Thank you again for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. And if there's any topics you'd like us to discuss, please pop them in the comments and have a healthy week.